Millionaire CEO takes a cleaning lady to an investor meeting. Her speech shocked everyone in the room. The boardroom falls silent as Maria Santos, the cleaning lady everyone ignored for 3 years, stands up from the conference table and walks to the presentation screen. What she's about to say will expose the millionaire CEO's biggest secret and change everything. 2 days earlier, billionaire CEO Alexander Hart stares at his reflection in his corner office window, watching the Manhattan skyline blur through his exhausted eyes. At 36, he built Tech Vision Industries from nothing into a $4 billion empire, but now everything is falling apart. His phone buzzes with another call from his investors. He lets it go to voicemail. Mr. Hart. His assistant Jennifer peeks through the door. The board is asking about tomorrow's presentation. They want to know if you're ready. Alexander turns around, his usually perfect appearance disheveled. Tell them I'm prepared. But he's not prepared. He's never been less prepared in his life. The presentation tomorrow will determine whether Tech Vision survives or dies. His investors are threatening to pull out after discovering major flaws in the company's new AI platform. The software that was supposed to revolutionize medical diagnosis has been giving incorrect results in clinical trials. People could die because of his mistakes. Alexander built his reputation on being the genius CEO who never failed. But this time, he's out of his depth. The technical problems are beyond his understanding, and his development team has been working around the clock with no solutions. He needs a miracle. That evening, Alexander works late in his office, surrounded by reports he can't fully comprehend. The cleaning crew arrives at 9 p.m., as they do every night. Maria Santos enters his office quietly, pulling her cart of supplies. She's worked at Tech Vision for 3 years, but Alexander has never really noticed her. She's just part of the invisible army of service workers who keep his world running. "Excuse me, Mr. Hart," Maria says softly. "I can come back later if you're busy." Alexander looks up, seeing her properly for the first time. She's probably in her 50s, with kind eyes and calloused hands. Her uniform is spotless despite the late hour. "No, go ahead," he says, returning to his papers. Maria begins cleaning, moving efficiently around the office. As she empties his trash, she notices the scattered reports on his desk. "Problems with the medical AI?" she asks casually. Alexander looks up, surprised. "What?" "The diagnostic software. I couldn't help but notice the clinical trial reports." Maria continues cleaning, her voice matter-of-fact. "Looks like the algorithm is having trouble with pattern recognition in rare diseases." Alexander stares at her. "You understand medical software?" Maria shrugs. "I understand a lot of things. People just don't usually ask the cleaning lady for her opinion." "How do you know about pattern recognition?" "I read." Maria sprays the conference table and wipes it down. "Your reports are very detailed. The problem seems to be in the neural network architecture. You're using supervised learning for cases that need unsupervised clustering." Alexander's mouth falls open. That's exactly what my development team has been struggling with." "Smart people sometimes overthink simple problems," Maria observes. "They get so focused on complex solutions that they miss obvious fixes." "What would you do?" Maria stops cleaning and looks at him directly. "I'd restructure the training data. Instead of feeding the AI examples of known diagnoses, I'd let it discover patterns on its own, then verify those patterns against medical literature." Alexander sits back in his chair. "You're talking about unsupervised machine learning with verification protocols." "I'm talking about teaching the computer to think like a doctor, not like a textbook." "How do you know this?" Maria resumes cleaning, but her movements are slower now. "I used to be a doctor. A long time ago." Alexander stands up so fast his chair rolls backward. "You're a doctor?" "I was a doctor. In El Salvador. Chief of internal medicine at Hospital Nacional." "What happened?" Maria's hand still on the cleaning cloth. "I came to America 20 years ago. My daughter was sick, needed treatment that wasn't available back home. I thought I could practice medicine here, help people while taking care of her. But my medical degree isn't recognized in the United States. I'd have to redo my residency. take board exams, complete years of additional training. And I had no money, no connections, no time. My daughter needed immediate care. Alexander feels something uncomfortable in his chest. So you became a cleaning lady. I became whatever I needed to be to survive. I cleaned offices during the day, worked at a hospital kitchen at night, studied English whenever I could. I sent my daughter to college. She's a pediatric surgeon now. And you're still cleaning offices. I'm still cleaning offices. Maria's voice is steady, but Alexander hears the pain underneath. But I never stopped being a doctor. I read medical journals, keep up with research, study new developments. Knowledge doesn't disappear just because you can't use it. Alexander looks at the reports scattered across his desk. Would you look at these? Really look at them? Help me understand what's wrong. Maria hesitates. Mr. Hart, I'm just the cleaning lady. No, you're not. You're the most qualified person I've talked to about this project. Your investors won't see it that way. I don't care what they see. I care about solving this problem. Maria sets down her cleaning supplies and approaches the desk. She picks up the first report and begins reading, her trained eyes scanning the data with practiced expertise. This is worse than I thought, she says after 10 minutes. The AI isn't just making mistakes. It's learning the wrong patterns entirely. Can it be fixed? Everything can be fixed. The question is whether you have the courage to admit your approach was wrong from the beginning. Alexander paces his office while Maria continues reviewing the reports. It's almost midnight, but neither of them seems tired. The fundamental architecture is flawed, Maria explains. You're trying to diagnose diseases by matching symptoms to databases. But medicine doesn't work that way. Diagnosis is about understanding the story the patient's body is telling. How do we teach a computer to understand stories? We don't. We teach it to recognize patterns in those stories. Look at this data from your failed trials. Maria spreads several reports across the desk. The AI correctly identified common conditions 97% of the time, but it failed on rare diseases, complex cases, anything that didn't fit standard patterns. Right. That's what's been driving me crazy. That's because you trained it on textbook cases. Real patients aren't textbook cases. They're messy, complicated, unique. Alexander sits down across from her. What's the solution? Train the AI on real patient data. Not just successful diagnoses, but failed ones. Inconclusive cases. Patients who took months to diagnose. Teach it to think like a doctor who's seen everything. We need access to massive amounts of patient data. You'd need partnerships with major medical centers, research hospitals, places that see the kinds of complex cases your AI needs to learn from. Alexander's mind races. That would require completely restructuring our partnerships. New agreements, new protocols, new everything. Yes, the investors will hate it. They want a quick fix, not a complete overhaul. Maria gathers the reports into neat piles. Then you have a choice. Give the investors what they want and release a product that will fail in the real world. Or give them what they need and build something that actually works. If I propose a complete overhaul, they'll pull their funding. Maybe. Or maybe they'll realize you're the only CEO with the honesty to admit when something isn't working. Alexander looks at Maria, this woman who's been invisible to him for 3 years. Would you help me? With the presentation tomorrow. Mr. Hart, I can't. I'm not asking you to present. I'm asking you to help me understand what I'm presenting, to make sure I know what I'm talking about. Maria considers this. What exactly are you proposing? I want you to come to the investor meeting as my medical consultant. I'm the cleaning lady. You're a doctor who happens to clean offices. There's a difference. Maria shakes her head. Your investors won't take me seriously. They'll see my uniform and dismiss everything I say. Then don't wear the uniform. Come as Dr. Maria Santos, former chief of internal medicine. It's been 20 years, Mr. Hart. I'm not that person anymore. Aren't you? You just spent 3 hours solving a problem that stumped my entire development team. Maria is quiet for a long moment. Why does this matter to you so much? Because I'm tired of being a fraud. I built this company on the promise of using technology to save lives. But I don't know enough about medicine to deliver on that promise. I need someone who does. And you think I'm that person? I think you're the only person who can help me turn this disaster into something meaningful. The next morning, Alexander arrives at the office early to find Maria already there, but she's not wearing her cleaning uniform. She's dressed in a simple but professional navy suit, her hair pulled back in a neat bun, carrying a leather briefcase. She looks like the doctor she used to be. Where did you get the clothes? Alexander asks. I never threw them away. I kept hoping I'd need them again someday. They spend the morning reviewing the presentation. Maria helps Alexander understand the technical aspects of the medical AI, explaining complex concepts in simple terms. The key is to frame this as an opportunity, not a crisis, Maria says. Your investors need to see that you're proposing a better solution, not admitting failure. How do I do that? You tell them the truth, that you discovered your current approach has limitations, and you've found a way to overcome them. At 11 a.m., Alexander's assistant Jennifer enters the conference room. Mr. Hart, the investors are here. They're ready for you. Alexander looks at Maria. Are you ready for this? No, but I'm going to do it anyway. I haven't introduced you properly. Dr. Maria Santos, former chief of internal medicine at Hospital Nacional in El Salvador, currently completing her medical certification in the United States. Maria gives him a sharp look. I'm not completing any certification. You are now. I'm sponsoring your medical licensing program. It's about time TechVision had a proper chief medical officer. The boardroom is packed with 15 of the most powerful investors in the tech industry. Alexander recognizes faces from magazine covers, people whose decisions affect billions of dollars. At the head of the table sits Victoria Pemberton, the venture capitalist whose firm leads the investment group. She's known for her ruthless intelligence and zero tolerance for failure. Alexander, Victoria says coldly, I hope you have better news than what we heard about the clinical trials. I have honest news, Alexander replies, and I have solutions. He begins the presentation, explaining the problems with the AI platform. The investors' faces grow darker with each slide. This is worse than we thought. Investor Marcus Webb interrupts. You're telling us the entire product is fundamentally flawed. I'm telling you we discovered the flaws before releasing the product to market. That's actually good news. How is this good news? Victoria demands. Because it means we can fix it properly instead of patching it with temporary solutions. Alexander clicks to the next slide. I want to introduce Dr. Maria Santos, who will explain our new approach. The investors turn to look at Maria, who stands calmly beside the presentation screen. Alexander can see the dismissive looks on their faces, the way they're already writing her off. Dr. Santos, Victoria says with barely concealed disdain. What's your background? I was chief of internal medicine at Hospital Nacional in San Salvador for 12 years. I've diagnosed over 10,000 patients, supervised hundreds of residents, and published research in international medical journals. And now, Maria meets Victoria's gaze steadily. And now I'm going to explain why your AI is failing and how to fix it. Maria clicks to the first slide of her presentation. The room falls silent. You're trying to build a diagnostic AI that thinks like a computer. That's your mistake. You need to build one that thinks like a doctor. She brings up a case study. This patient came to my emergency room with chest pain, classic heart attack symptoms. But something felt wrong. The timing was off. The patient's history didn't fit. The pain wasn't quite right. What did you do? Asks investor Dr. James Chen. I ordered tests that the textbook said weren't necessary. Turned out the patient had a rare autoimmune condition that mimics heart attacks. If I'd followed the algorithm, he would have died. Maria advances to the next slide. Your AI is trained on textbook cases. But real medicine isn't textbook medicine. It's pattern recognition combined with intuition, experience, and the ability to see what doesn't fit. Victoria leans forward. How do you teach intuition to a computer? You don't. You teach it to recognize the patterns that human intuition is built on. the subtle combinations of symptoms that experienced doctors learn to notice. Maria pulls up the clinical trial data. Your AI failed on rare diseases and complex cases, but look at where it succeeded. Common conditions with clear presentations. That tells us the AI can learn. It just needs better teachers. Better teachers? Marcus Webb asks. Right now, you're teaching it with medical textbooks. Clean, simple cases with obvious answers. But doctors don't learn from textbooks. They learn from patients. Messy, complicated, real patients. Maria clicks to a proposal slide. We need to partner with teaching hospitals, places that see the kinds of cases your AI needs to learn from. We need data from patients who were difficult to diagnose, cases that took weeks or months to solve. That sounds expensive, Victoria says. It sounds necessary. Do you want to release a product that works 97% of the time on easy cases? Or do you want to release a product that can handle the 3% of cases that actually challenge doctors? The room is completely silent now. The investors are listening. But here's the real question, Maria continues. What happens when your AI makes a mistake? When it misses a diagnosis or gives false results? We have liability insurance, Alexander says. Insurance doesn't bring people back from the dead, Maria replies sharply. And it doesn't restore trust once it's broken. You get one chance to launch a medical AI. If it fails, patients die and doctors stop trusting AI forever. She advances to the final slide. This is your choice. Release a product that works most of the time, or build a product that works when it matters most. Victoria Pemberton stares at Maria for a long moment. Dr. Santos, you make compelling points, but you're essentially asking us to scrap 2 years of development and start over. I'm asking you to build on 2 years of learning. Your current AI isn't worthless. It's a foundation, but it's not ready for patients yet. How long would your approach take? 18 months for the partnerships and data collection. Another 6 months for training and testing. 2 years total. Marcus Webb shakes his head. That's unacceptable. We need to recoup our investment. And we need to not kill people, Maria replies calmly. Which timeline serves both goals? Dr. Santos, Victoria says, you're asking us to trust the medical opinion of someone who's been cleaning offices for 3 years. The room goes dead silent. Alexander starts to speak, but Maria holds up her hand. You're right, Maria says. I have been cleaning offices. I've been cleaning offices because I love my daughter more than I love my pride. I've been cleaning offices because I needed to survive in a country that didn't recognize my qualifications. She walks around the table, making eye contact with each investor. But I've also been saving lives. 3 years ago, I was cleaning the bathroom at Mount Sinai when I heard a patient screaming. The nurses were busy, so I looked in on him. He was having a reaction to medication. I recognized the signs and called for help. I saved his life. That's not, Victoria begins. 2 years ago, I was cleaning the break room when a doctor mentioned a patient they couldn't diagnose. I suggested they test for a rare genetic condition. I was right. That patient got treatment that saved her life. Maria returns to the front of the room. Last month, I was cleaning Mr. Hart's office when I noticed he was making the same mistake every doctor makes when they're overwhelmed. He was overthinking a simple problem. She gestures to the presentation screen. I may clean offices, but I never stopped being a doctor. I never stopped learning, studying, caring about patients. The only difference is that now I have the humility to admit when I don't know something. And what don't you know? Victoria asks. I don't know why it took Mr. Hart 3 years to ask for my help. I don't know why brilliant investors like you would rather risk failure than admit you need expertise you don't have. And I don't know why anyone would choose pride over patience. The boardroom is silent except for the hum of air conditioning. The investors look at each other, then at Maria, then at Alexander. Dr. James Chen speaks first. Dr. Santos, what would you need to make this work? Medical Advisory Board, partnerships with 5 major teaching hospitals, access to anonymized patient data from the last 10 years. A team of doctors who understand both medicine and AI. And you'd lead this team? Maria glances at Alexander. If Tech Vision is serious about building something that actually works, then yes. Victoria stands up. This is a lot to process. Alexander, we need to discuss this privately. Actually, Alexander says, I think Dr. Santos should stay. She understands the technical aspects better than I do. She's not a board member. She's the chief medical officer, Alexander announces. As of this morning, the investors look shocked. Maria looks shocked. You can't just, Victoria begins. I can and I did. Dr. Santos is the most qualified person to lead this project. She's also the only person who's been honest about what it will take to succeed. Marcus Webb stands up. This is ridiculous. We're not going to let a cleaning lady dictate our medical strategy. You're not, Alexander says calmly. You're going to let a doctor with 20 years of experience guide our medical strategy. The fact that she's been cleaning offices while maintaining her medical expertise just proves how dedicated she is. Victoria looks around the table. We need to vote on this. Then vote, Alexander says. But vote on the proposal Dr. Santos presented, not on your preconceptions about who she is. Dr. Chen raises his hand. I support the proposal, and I support Dr. Santos leading the medical team. Investor Sarah Martinez nods. The technical approach is sound. If we're going to do this, we need someone who understands both the medical and business implications. One by one, the investors raise their hands. Victoria is the last to vote. Dr. Santos, she says, you've convinced me that the medical approach is correct, but can you convince me that you can manage a team of engineers and developers? I managed a hospital department of 50 people for 12 years, Maria replies. I think I can handle a few programmers. Victoria smiles for the first time that day. All right, you have our support, but if this fails, it won't fail, Maria says with quiet confidence. I've been waiting 20 years for this opportunity. I'm not going to waste it. 6 months later, Tech Vision's new medical AI lab buzzes with activity. Maria stands in the center of the lab, wearing a white coat over her business suit, reviewing diagnostic results with her team of doctors and engineers. The pattern recognition is improving, Dr. Sarah Kim reports. We're seeing 99% accuracy on rare diseases now. Good. But remember, we're not just building a diagnostic tool. We're building a doctor's assistant. It needs to ask the right questions, not just give the right answers. Alexander enters the lab, carrying coffee for the team. He's been spending more time here than in his executive office, learning about medicine from Maria and her team. How are we doing? He asks. We're ahead of schedule, Maria replies. The teaching hospital partnerships are working better than expected. Doctors are excited about contributing to the training data. And the investors? Happy. Our beta tests are showing results that exceed every other medical AI on the market. Alexander watches Maria work with her team. She's transformed from the invisible cleaning lady into a respected leader. But more importantly, she's transformed Tech Vision from a company that built technology for technology's sake into one that built solutions for real problems. Maria, he says, can I ask you something? Of course. Why did you help me? That night in my office, you could have just finished cleaning and left. Why did you get involved? Maria considers the question. Because I saw someone who was lost. Someone who had the resources to help people, but didn't know how. I've been in that position before. When I came to America, I had knowledge, but no resources. You had resources, but no knowledge. It made sense to work together. Alexander nods. I'm glad you did. This company is better with you leading it. I'm not leading it. I'm just making sure it does what it's supposed to do. Which is, save lives. Wasn't that always the point? 1 year later, Tech Vision's medical AI platform launches to widespread acclaim. The system, now called Dr. Assist, is being used in hospitals across the country, helping doctors diagnose complex cases with unprecedented accuracy. Maria stands on the stage at the Medical Technology Conference. delivering the keynote address to over 1,000 doctors and researchers. She's wearing a tailored suit and the confident smile of someone who's exactly where she belongs. 3 years ago, I was cleaning the office where Dr. Assist was first conceived, she tells the audience. Today, I'm proud to say that this technology is helping doctors save lives every day. The audience applauds, but Maria raises her hand for silence. But I want to be clear about something. Dr. Assist isn't replacing doctors. It's amplifying their expertise. It's giving them the tools to be better at what they already do well. She clicks to her next slide. This technology exists because someone was willing to admit they didn't know everything. CEO Alexander Hart could have released a flawed product and hoped for the best. Instead, he chose to find people who could help him build something better. In the audience, Alexander watches with pride as Maria commands the room. She's become one of the most respected voices in medical technology, but she's never forgotten where she came from. The most important lesson I've learned, Maria continues, is that knowledge exists everywhere, in hospitals, in universities, in research labs, but also in places you might not expect, in the maintenance worker who notices patterns in equipment failure, in the nurse who sees things doctors miss, in the cleaning lady who reads medical journals during her breaks. The audience laughs, but Maria's expression is serious. Don't let titles determine who you listen to. Don't let assumptions prevent you from finding the best solutions. And don't let pride keep you from asking for help when you need it. After the conference, Victoria Pemberton approaches Maria at the reception. The venture capitalist who once dismissed her as just a cleaning lady now treats her as an equal. Dr. Santos, impressive presentation as always. Thank you, Victoria. How are the returns on your TechVision investment? Better than projected. Your medical AI is being licensed by hospitals worldwide. We're seeing 300% return on investment. I'm glad the investors are happy. Victoria sips her wine. I owe you an apology. That day in the boardroom, I judged you based on what I thought I knew about you. You judged me based on what you could see. That's human nature. How do you not hold grudges? I was terrible to you. Maria smiles. I spent 20 years being judged for things I couldn't control. My accent, my credentials, my circumstances. Holding grudges would have destroyed me. What changed? How did you get from cleaning offices to running a medical AI company? Someone saw past the uniform and recognized the person underneath. Alexander gave me a chance to be who I've always been. Victoria nods thoughtfully. We're looking at other medical technology investments. Would you be interested in consulting? I might be, but I have conditions. Name them. I want to see diverse teams. I want to see companies that listen to people who aren't like them. And I want to see products that actually solve problems, not just make money. Done. You know, you've changed how I evaluate companies. I look for different things now. What do you look for? Humility. Companies that admit what they don't know. Leaders who are willing to learn from anyone. 2 years later, Maria sits in her office at TechVision, reviewing applications for the company's new medical scholarship program. The program provides funding for immigrant doctors to complete their U.S. certification, removing the barriers that kept her from practicing medicine for 20 years. Alexander knocks on her door. Maria, do you have a minute? Of course. What's on your mind? I've been thinking about succession planning. I want to make sure TechVision continues to grow in the right direction. Maria looks up from the applications. And I want to recommend you as the next CEO. The board is already supportive. Maria sets down her pen. Alexander, I appreciate the offer, but I'm not sure I'm ready to run the entire company. Why not? You've been running the medical division for 2 years. You understand the technology, the business, the vision. I understand medicine. Business is different. Business is about solving problems and serving people. You've been doing that your whole life. Maria considers this. What about you? TechVision is your company. TechVision is bigger than me now. It needs someone who can take it to the next level. Someone who understands that success isn't just about profit, but about impact. I'd want to maintain the scholarship program. Expand it, actually. Of course. That program is part of what makes Tech Vision special. Maria looks out her window at the Manhattan skyline. You know what the hardest part about cleaning offices was? What? Being invisible. People would have entire conversations around me like I wasn't there. They'd discuss important decisions, personal problems, business strategies. I became an expert at being ignored. That must have been frustrating. It was educational. I learned that most people don't see the whole picture. They focus on what's in front of them and miss the bigger context. Alexander nods. Is that why you're good at solving complex problems? Because you see things others miss. I see things others ignore. There's a difference. Like what? Maria gestures to the scholarship applications. Like the fact that America is full of brilliant people whose talents are being wasted because of circumstances beyond their control. Immigrants with advanced degrees working in restaurants. Scientists driving taxis. Doctors cleaning offices. And you want to change that. I want to create opportunities for people to use their full potential. Imagine how much innovation we're missing because we're not recognizing the talent that's already here. Alexander smiles. That sounds like a CEO's vision to me. 6 months later, Maria stands in the same boardroom where she first presented her ideas to the investors. But now she's presenting as Tech Vision's new CEO, and the room is full of different faces. Our mission is simple, she tells the new board members. We use technology to solve problems that matter. We listen to voices that aren't usually heard, and we create opportunities for people to contribute their talents. Board member Dr. Lisa Wong raises her hand. Dr. Santos, what's your vision for Tech Vision's future? I want us to be known as the company that finds solutions in unexpected places, that hires people for their potential, not just their credentials, that builds technology that actually improves lives. How do you plan to do that? Maria clicks to her first slide. We're expanding our scholarship program to include engineers, business professionals, and researchers. We're partnering with community colleges to identify talent that traditional recruiters miss. And we're implementing blind hiring practices that focus on ability rather than background. Victoria Pemberton, who's remained on the board, nods approvingly. What about profitability? Profitability follows purpose. When you build products that solve real problems, people pay for them. When you hire the best people regardless of where they come from, you get better results. And if shareholders complain about social programs, then we find shareholders who understand that social responsibility is good business. Companies that invest in their communities get better employees, more loyal customers, and more sustainable growth. The board approves Maria's vision unanimously. After the meeting, Alexander finds Maria in her new corner office, looking out at the city where she once cleaned buildings at night. Any regrets? He asks. About what? About the path that brought you here. If you'd been able to practice medicine when you first came to America, you might never have ended up at Tech Vision. Maria considers this. I used to think my 20 years of struggle were wasted time, but they weren't. They taught me empathy, resilience, and humility. They showed me problems that need solving and people who need opportunities. So no regrets? No regrets. Just gratitude that someone finally asked the cleaning lady what she thought. Alexander laughs. Best decision I ever made. Second best, Maria corrects. The best decision was admitting you needed help. What's the difference? One is about finding solutions. The other is about finding wisdom. As the sun sets over Manhattan, Maria reflects on her journey from invisible cleaning lady to CEO of a billion-dollar company. She thinks about all the other invisible people working in buildings across the city, the untapped potential in every office, restaurant, and hospital. Tomorrow, she'll start working to make sure their voices are heard too. Because the most important lesson she's learned is that brilliance doesn't care about your job title, your accent, or your circumstances. It only cares about being recognized. And once it's recognized, it can change everything.